Hey everyone, welcome back to In the Studio with Ophelia. I'm Ophelia and thank you all so much for joining me today. Today's video is all around this guy. It is a Jerry's Jumbo Jet black pencil, and if you have ever watched my channel or watched me paint, I always use this guy for making the really dark marks. However, in a painting, when it's time to varnish it and such, this, if it's not properly sealed, will smudge. And today's video, we're gonna fix the smudge situation. So I hope that you'll stick around to watch me fix this Jumbo Jet black pencil. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and definitely hit that notification bell and subscribe so that you are notified when I upload here on my channel. So I shall stop talking, flip the camera around, grab some finished paintings, and we shall get started. Thanks so much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. I also want to pop back in to quickly apologize. As I was watching the footage, I realized my camera thing here that holds my camera, tripod thing, I don't know, but what holds my camera in place, that thing, it shifted. And so the entire video is like this, and I'm very sorry. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you watching. Even though I'm usually a disaster, thank you for being here. Bye. In today's video, I wanted to talk us through everything that I will use to finish off a painting. As you guys know from watching my channel, I always use this Jerry's Jumbo Jet black pencil when I am doing paintings and such like that. This is an oil impregnated charcoal, which means I have to set it so that when I get ready to seal and varnish my painting, it won't smudge. The materials that I am going to be using, of course, I've got my finished canvas here, and this is a Creative Mark 8x8, and that's the edge. I like using these 1.5 inch thick gallery wrapped canvases, so I've got this painting finished. I also have, because I work a lot in these little mini, and these guys are the 4x4 Creative Mark gallery wrapped 1.5 inch, and I just love working on this size. So I've got one of these that I wanted to show you something with. I've got a variety of brushes, and depending on the size of the painting, for instance, if I've finished and I want to seal something that looks like this guy, a 4x4, that's when my polar flows come in handy. What you want when you're about to do your varnish is something that's a nice soft brush. These polar flow brushes, I love these because they are just so versatile in being able to go from medium to medium and still maintain their softness. I gesso with these, I apply matte medium or glue with these, I watercolor with these, I use acrylic paints with these, and then I can also apply my varnishes and final coats and such like that. So I love using these guys for smaller sized paintings. And then for my larger paintings, so we'll, for instance, use this one with this 8x8 and larger. These are the Creative Mark, and they're the Mural. They're white nylon brushes. It's the green one with the red handle that you want to get. And again, these are very, very, very soft bristle brushes that I use for my varnishing only. And so this is what I would use for, and I think it also comes in a size 40 for largers, but 8x8s, 20x20s, and such like that, I will usually use this size 30, and then I believe there's a size 40 that can be used for largers. As far as my mediums go, this is the final fix, and it's a Spectra fix that I like to use for making sure that my Jumbo Jet black pencil won't smear or smudge. I have it in one of these, it's like a continuous spray bottle, so I will just pour it out of here into here to kind of mist over a canvas, and this does work very, very well with sealing this Jumbo Jet black pencil. And then I also will use, there's a couple of different things for forever. I would use, and this I found out in a workshop. It was taught by Joe DiGiulio in Raleigh, North Carolina. He calls it the recipe. So that's what's in this bottle. And it's literally Liquitex gloss medium, Liquitex matte medium, and when you mix the two together, it makes like a satin type finish. And so you would take like half the bottle of gloss, fill it half the way with gloss, fill it the other half with matte, and then they kind of mix in here, and then you just fill it like a tiny bit of the way with water. I hope that makes sense. And then you kind of mix everything together, and this would be the isolation coat before I moved into the final varnish, which is a satin varnish. I believe Liquitex now makes a satin medium to use for your isolation coat, but I have gallons of the matte medium and the gloss medium, so I continue to kind of mix them together in this to make my recipe. And last year, I think it was, I found this guy. It's the isolation coat, and this is by Golden, which will do exactly the same as these two guys here. I kind of go between the two depending on which is closer at hand. This one is a bit more glossy, where I prefer more of a satin, but that part does not necessarily matter because I go over the entire thing with a satin, so it will knock the gloss back off of this. So it just honestly kind of depends on what I have close at hand. I've now taken this entire bottle, and because I had a little bit of both left, and just dumped everything in here. So this one is my satin mixture, which would usually be in here. So I also have, this is like a plastic muffin tin that I will pour my mediums into. Just because I usually don't like to go directly on the canvas, I just will pour it in here and then use the brush to go to the canvas. So let's go ahead and get started with how I will varnish a painting to finish it off. On this painting, right in these lighter areas, you can see where I've used my Jerry's Jumbo Jet black pencil. So the first thing that I will do once the entire painting is dry is I take my final fix, and this, I've just poured it in this bottle. I like this Spectra fix, even though there are other fixatives on the market. This one does not have a smell. There's some in like aerosol cans that work beautifully, but there's a smell, and I, would usually have to like take them outside, spray them, and then come back upstairs to my studio. And I just started using this one because it's simpler. With this one, I will usually just take from here, pour it into here. And I think they now sell this. Oops. They now sell this guy in either this spray formulation or a continuous spray. And I just kind of give a once over pass. Mainly concentrating on exactly where I've got the fixative, and I usually will spray it once, let it dry, and it doesn't take very long to dry, and then I'll usually spray it again depending on how heavily marked my canvas is, and then I spray it, usually let it dry. Even though it dries pretty quickly, I'll usually sit it for, say, 24 hours, spray it again, let it sit for 24 hours, and then I continue with the next steps. This one is a painting that's finished, and I have done the Final Fix sealer, and now I want to get ready to actually start applying my isolation coat. It honestly does not matter which one you use. For simplicity, what I shall do is just use this guy. And I usually, in all honesty, I end up wasting a lot instead of trying to pour it back in, because I always over pour. And I'm going to use this larger brush, and I just kind of get the brush soaked with my recipe, and I'm gonna try to hold it. You'll notice I'm just gonna allow the brush to almost dance across the surface or glide across the surface, and just put the product down. I'm not really pushing too hard. I'm just kind of letting the brush glide across the surface, and I want to see, so I'm just kind of letting it glide across the surface and putting the isolation coat down. What I will usually do is put one coat going in one direction, oops, I missed some down here, and then I will immediately go and rinse this brush out because I want it to maintain that softness that it has. So I will immediately put the brush into, if possible, you would want to put it, like, go to your sink and kind of wash it out. I have, like, my bucket of water here. Even though I've kind of rinsed it out, I still want to go ahead and wash it out with some of my brush soap. But, so immediately we'll wash that out. What I will end up doing is letting this first coat dry where I went this direction. And so I'll let it dry usually overnight, and then tomorrow I will sign it and then let that dry, and then go the opposite direction with another coat of my mixture. I am going to go clean this brush out really quickly, and I'll be right back. Before I take off to wash my brush. I just wanted to show you a couple of options that I use to keep my brushes cleaned. This one is the Masters brush soap, and it's a brush cleaner and preserver, and it's literally like a big cake of soap. I wish I were better at cleaning up my toys properly. But this is what it looks like. I will go find a newer one to show you, one that's not so dirty. Before I go in with my white brush that I've used to varnish, I will clean the blue paint off of that so that it won't stain and contaminate my brush. Another one that I use is this Mona Lisa, and it's pink soap. It's a brush cleaner, and I will just pour this in the bottom of an empty container and swirl my brush around in that to just make sure that it's clean. But both of these work very well. It just kind of, again, depends on what I have close at hand. Gosh, I've either one. I just wanted to show you quickly for 1 second. I've cleaned the brush, and you know, unfortunately, I am not the greatest at taking care of my toys. However, with these brushes, because they are specific, I use these only to varnish or isolation coat my paintings. And what I want is to maintain that softness so that I'm not leaving behind brush strokes. And so with all of these, and these two clearly I use to acrylic paint and such like that, but acrylic paint, watercolor, glue, all of the above, but I will wash them after I'm painting or when I'm varnishing, because I want them to maintain that softness that I need when I'm applying my isolation coat or my varnish. I will usually just leave these to sit and dry on my counter or on my work table, and I leave them flat, and then I can of course put this away. The rest of this mixture will dry here in this pan, and I can just peel it up and toss it and move on. I don't usually try to like pour it out and rinse it. I just let it dry in this muffin tin and just kind of peel it out and throw it away. So I will be back once that painting has dried for 24 hours. I will be back once this painting has dried and I've signed it and applied another coat, and then we'll be back for the final varnish. Okay, I've let this guy dry fully, and then I went the opposite direction with more of my recipe mixture. And now I am going to put on a couple of coats of my Liquitex. It's the satin varnish that I use, and I pour it into this muffin pan. And again, I just usually do it that way so that I don't go directly on the canvas. And this one is pretty liquid, and so I just kind of soak the bristles of my brush, and in that very same manner, I kind of just let the brush glide over the surface. And kind of look to see if there are any spaces that I missed. And exactly the same as when I did the isolation coat. I will let this guy dry up for about 24 hours. Come back in with another coat of my varnish, and we are done.